David Bowie.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted with the reaction to it. It's been fabulous, just worldwide. It's been.
It's amazing,
great.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I felt glad for you in a way.
I felt glad for me. I bet I felt better for me than you felt for me.
Maybe.
Maybe you felt that I felt better for you.
Well, I'm so worrying much about people.
Yeah,
so including you. Yeah, much more about myself.
You know the saying that if you die, someone else's life will flash before your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that one.
Yeah.
You know, the weird thing is, the last time I was in this room, in this particular room,
yeah,
in this hotel, it's a few years ago. I think 4 or 5 years. I spoke to Iggy Pop.
It's a nice room. It looks pretty. It's been kept well.
And the weird thing is, just 2 times in there, and 1 interview with Iggy,
yeah.
1 with you.
Yeah.
Is it a coincidence?
That's probably fate. There must be some kind of intelligence in the universe that's ordered that to happen, maybe. Nah, it's coincidence.
I guess so too.
Complete coincidence.
So, but nevertheless, we should celebrate this coincidence and play a video by you.
Yeah, sure.
And following one by Iggy Pop.
Okay, great.
Let's do that.
All right. Yeah, that's just about right. That's kind of how myself and Tony Visconti thought of it whilst we were making it. We didn't, you know, it was important. We did a lot of really good albums when we were working together before, you know, like Low and Young Americans, Scary Monsters and all that things. And it was important to us that we didn't fall back on those ideas and use up the goodwill that we'd created as a collaborative team. And I didn't want to cheapen our reputation by copying what we'd done before, you know. So we really spent a long time before we made the commitment to go into the studio this time, so that I knew that I had the right kinds of pieces of material to work with that were very strong on their own, so that the album had its own singular kind of focus, you know. And you're right, it doesn't try to be over-contemporary, but it doesn't try and look back at the past, so it really has a kind of a contemporaneous feel rather than a trendy or nostalgic kind of thing, you know. The last 2 or 3 years, no, I probably haven't done so much because so much has taken place in my life, you know. I really kind of stopped any active interest, I guess. When I stopped work, the last thing I did was the Glastonbury Festival, which was in 2002. I did a couple of shows in New York, but they were benefits for a place called the Tibet House in New York that I very much support with Philip Glass, the composer. But, you know, we had our baby and all that, and that kind of takes over, you know, being a father. And a lot.
Well,
it takes a lot of time.
Double father, in a sense.
Double father, well, yeah, but my son is 31, you know, so he can take care of himself. But my little girl, she's now 22, 23 months old now.
Yeah,
so, yeah, so, you know, I got all that to do with.
Heavy father duties.
It's great, I love it, I really do. So yeah, I see, you know, I follow a little bit of music, but there again, I mean, the kinds of things I like tend to be pretty much on the periphery of the mainstream. It's not, you know, I like the 2 or 3 let's say that I've been listening to over the last while is that I like, in fact, I think it's a German band, Mouse on Mars.
Yeah.
So I like them very much. Yeah, they're very, very good. Yeah, he's 2 streets away from me in New York.
Oh, really? I just know that you live both in Manhattan, but is it that close?
No, we're very close. We can see each other's roofs.
Really?
Yeah,
waving?
we're that close, yeah. Well, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see too much.
Now, speaking of New York, your albums have been recorded in places like Tokyo, Berlin, New York.
Yeah.
And when I heard for the first time that you're going way up there, near Woodstock in the mountains,
countryside, yeah, I know.
It felt strange in the first place.
It felt very strange for me too. I wasn't excited by the idea at all. A wonderful guitar player who is working on this new album called David Torn, who works much in the style as, say, Robert Fripp or Adrian Belew. You know, it's that kind of feel. Very atmospheric, esoteric guitar player. It's great. But he kind of lives up there, and he said, you've got to see this studio. It's like no other studio you've ever been to, and very few people have worked there so far. It's a brand new studio, but set in an old house, and it has an atmosphere unlike anything. And I respect him as a person and his intelligence. I thought, well, I should go and see it. If David says it's worth seeing, it must be worth seeing, you know? And I didn't like the idea, but the moment I got there, I thought, we had to drive up this mountain, you know, like miles and miles up a mountain. And the whole of that area, 50 miles all the way around, was laid out before us. It was stunning, absolutely stunning. And it felt like isolated, and it had a kind of a majesty, a weight of its own. And it was a little bit sad because obviously a family had grown up in this huge, huge house, and they'd all kind of dissipated and left, you know. And so it felt like a house that had been abandoned, so on the top of an isolated mountain, so it had a certain thing, you know.
That was at a point when you haven't written any material for the new record?
I'd already started, no, I'd written a good 3/4 of it, yeah. We didn't even start looking for anything until I was well into the album and knew what the album was going to be.
Also lyric-wise then?
Yeah.
At that point? So was there a major influence that this particular house had on the record in a way?
Yeah, I think it probably kept everything a little somber, a little kind of... I guess there's an overriding feeling of melancholia in the album. You know? There's a certain kind of sadness to it that probably was pinpointed. Probably we focused in more on that because of the nature of the environment. It probably would have been a little tougher, harder, had we done it in Manhattan. You know, it would have had a harder edge to it. But this place, it breathed. I guess it let us. Keep space in if that doesn't sound odd, but we had there's a kind of a feeling of space in the album, not space like up there, but breath. You know, it breathes better. I guess we wanted some kind of ironic link between our past and what we're doing now, and Pete was it really, because Pete was on the last album that Visconti and I did together, which was Scary Monsters. He played a guitar solo on that album.
Oh, wow.
And so we thought, well, it would be kind of funny, just like, so we're continuing from there. And as this is the first one, we asked Pete if he would play on this particular track, and he said he'd love to. The irony is that he came over to New York to do that rather sad show that we all did, the Concert for New York,
right.
You know, at the time, just shortly after the tragedy. We all got so involved in rehearsals that there was no time left for us to actually do any recording, even though we were together quite a bit during that time. And so what I ended up doing was sending him everything on Pro Tools through the post. And he did it in England and sent it back and all that. So it was like guitar solo by phone. But as the lyrics, he worked so much off the lyric, it was great. I mean, he really listens to a lyric and play. I thought the weight of the guitar playing really matched the lyric very well. He's just great. He's terrific. He just gets better and better. He really. I felt so bad for him the other week, you know, with John passing away and all
right.
that. It was just so awful, and the time for it to happen on the eve of the tour, you know, and all that. I can't think what he must have been going through those next few nights. It must have been so odd.
Well, we can dedicate the song to John.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard you saying certain things about the 80s decade, things that you've done in there, things that you, I don't know, don't like in retrospect.
I think I would imagine, I can't think that there can be an artist that is that self-satisfied with their career that there isn't something they don't like about what they've done.
Yeah.
For me, it was a depressing time, both personally and musically. But overall, when I look back over what, I think I've made something like 25, 26 albums. But, I really only feel bad about a couple, and so I feel kind of pretty comfortable with what I've done over the years. But the two that I didn't like literally followed each other back to back in the 80s. And I'd kind of grown indifferent with music at the time. I didn't understand the 80s at all. And it shows. I mean, I just didn't take much active part in the making of the albums and all that. And I got lazy and la la la. And then my epiphany was with Tin Machine. And that saved my soul.
Yeah, I remember. It was early 90s, right?
Yeah.
90?
Yeah, well, we actually started in 1988. It was really, we started pretty early. But we really got going around 89. We did our first tour in 89. And the first album released then. And I learned what it was I really wanted to do at that time. And I think for the 90s, I felt real. I look back on I like pretty much everything I did in the 90s. I thought there's some pretty interesting albums coming out now. And it's just going great. It's like what I'm doing. I think we all have that. I think we all have the feelings that we just don't really click with the society that we're in. That some of it comes from just a general shyness, I think. And with me, I think that was a really major problem when I was young. I really did feel shy. I didn't feel like that I could get involved with too many other people. I thought that maybe they wouldn't have any interest in the things that I liked and stuff, you know. And so I was kind of really on my own a lot like that. That's changed over the years as I've gotten older. I'm not so terrified of people. I like you, Marcus. No, I don't really. I think that, you know, even so, in the wee small hours of the morning, around 3 in the morning, you feel not so much an outsider, but you feel on your own. You know, there's always those times when you feel singularly isolated and on your own. I think I work off that. I think it's become very much one of the topics of, one of the areas of subject matter that I've written about over the years. And it's something I always seem to return to. Maybe it's a metaphor for ourselves trying to find some kind of union with the universe or something, you know, trying to actually see what the connection in life is and what the kind of pattern is. Is there a plan, you know, is there some kind of pattern for our lives? So maybe I'm working around that area. I don't know too clearly. I've never really been able to confront it head on. I guess that's why there's always such a lot of change in the way that I approach those questions. Mm-hmm. But I think pretty much if you kind of look back at everything I've done, I think there's some pretty strong continuity in subject matter that comes through. It looks like I've found what it is I'm supposed to write, and I write it so far 26 times. But I approach it differently each time, yeah?
Now then, again, being naturally shy can lead to either that you self-mythologize yourself, and,
yeah.
Or you pretend like you were living in a cave. And, yeah. and there's artists, ironically enough, artists that cite you as a reference, not just style-wise, also musically. For instance, I don't know, Trent Reznor or Marilyn Manson. And do you think that they are in the same phase that you have been in early days of your life?
I don't know very much about Manson, really. I've never met him, and I don't really know his music too well. Trent, of course, I do know quite well.
Yeah.
I think Trent is, I get a sense of a real kind of aloneness about Trent, you know. I think he's extremely talented as a musician. I think that he probably will be around for a very long time, but I think he's always trying to find himself more. I think maybe he does have a sense of being cut off a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do feel that with him. And he's deadly serious about what he does, you know. His intent is very focused. And he's quite quiet, you know, off stage. Yeah. He's very intense as a person. So I kind of understand. I do find an empathy between us a little, yeah.